With me in studio to share their reporting and their insights, CNN's Caitlin Collins, Nolan McCaskill of the Los Angeles Times, Margaret Talev of Axios, and former federal prosecutor Shan Wu. Shan, let me start with you. Ryan just noted Meadows was cooperating, and then the sudden about-face. Now this remarkable letter. We'll get to some of the juicy details to his lawyer, George Terwilliger. But you see here, again, we're searching for the truth. Meadows should testify, but you think as his lawyer you might have told him to do the same thing because why?
Well, they've got those 100 subpoenas out now, and so that's laying a possible perjury trap for him. No doubt he cherry-picked what he actually did turn over to the committee, and now he's worried that it may show that he cherry-picked it, or they may confront him with people he didn't talk about.
And so, Nolan, the committee, Steve Bannon is already in court because of a criminal contempt. The committee wants the information, they want it now, but they are faced now with the idea that if you have another court case, a key witness here, yes, you're getting other people cooperating, yes, you're getting these documents, but a key witness in this one with eyes on Trump from Election Day all the way through January 6th, you need to win in court, and that could last into next summer.
Right. I mean, we've seen when you talk about Steve Bannon, when you talk about Mark Meadows, we've seen some of the people who were closest to Trump, some of the biggest name Republicans who were in the White House during the last administration. We've seen them sort of try to delay this investigation, delay this probe, to try to just continue to stonewall, try to, give Democrats a hard time. And, when you have to go through the court process, these are things that take a very long time. I think Steve Bannon's next court date may be around July, I think, is when I saw it was correct. That's a long time. And I believe the committee wanted to wrap up its work in the spring. If people are continuing to stonewall, if some of the top targets are, not cooperating, I think this could really slow down the investigation.
Well, and I think you have to look at the timing of all of this because, of course, Meadows, some people may say, well, why did he stop cooperating? Because as Benny Thompson notes in his letter today, they have text messages, they have this PowerPoint slide that Ryan was talking about. So people may ask, why is Meadows now abruptly reversing course and saying he's not going to participate or cooperate or help? This also comes as his book is coming out, right. And of course the reports of it, he goes into detail. A lot of it is very praiseworthy of the former president. He does go into detail about how sick he was when he was diagnosed with coronavirus and was at Walter Reed and was in the hospital, talking about how he was on oxygen, talking about his appearance. Of course, those are things that the former president does not like people to talk about. And now you're seeing this shift in the way that Mark Meadows is handling this. And I don't think that those two are disconnected.
And that's why this letter is so rich in the sense that Mark Meadows suddenly decides, okay, I want to sell a book. Who's going to buy my book if you're Mark Meadows, right? Trump supporters are going to buy your book. So you don't want to cross Donald Trump right now. So suddenly he's not cooperating, which is why Benny Thompson, this is a legal letter, but it's also a political letter. He's saying, oh, you're not cooperating now, but you've given us a 38-page PowerPoint demonstration. Yeah. You've given us an email about having the National Guard on standby. You shared this with members on the Hill. People tell you they're going to try to block the slate of electors. You tell them you love it. They're essentially saying, okay, fine, Trump world. Guess what? He gave us a lot.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right there. You can't take the politics out of all of this on both sides. But what is interesting about Mark Meadows' book is also why Mark Meadows is so important to laying the groundwork here if you're the bipartisan committee looking at this, which is that Trump, to varying degrees, kind of stonewalled or firewalled his chiefs of staff during his time in office from key information. Remember Ryan Priebus, how hard would it be to be that chief of staff? You have no idea who's coming in and out the door. John Kelly did his best to try to install himself, but found himself marginalized quickly. Mark Meadows, interestingly, because he took such a different tack, because he didn't try to keep people out, he didn't try to limit the flow of traffic, he was very much in the loop. He had insights into exactly how sick Trump was, and he probably had insights into exactly who was moving around where and talking to whom on January 6th and in the days leading up to it. So I'm sure what he's turned over already is quite important to helping build that kind of timeline and then connections that they're looking for. But that testimony would be important, and the kind of questions he would be asked could get him in legal trouble.
So let's, before I bring the counselor in, let's go back through this publicly again. Mark Meadows is trying to sell books. So publicly, as like this on Fox News last night, Donald Trump acted perfectly.
Not only did Donald Trump want to make sure the National Guard was available, he repeated that a number of times, and I think that there are a number of people that he's communicated with that can back me up on that particular assessment. I can tell you that they've been pretty aggressive about holding people in contempt, and they'll do what they need to do, and at this point, hopefully the courts can work it out.
That would break a fact-check machine. They've only held one other person in contempt. Steve Bannon. Mark Meadows would be second if they get there. Number two, there have been a lot of reports and people coming forward in testimony that the president actually didn't do a lot while he was watching all this play out. So they have this, Shan Wu. You deal with cases all the time where you have what witnesses say, and then you have in the digital age, you have a lot of records, emails, texts, and so on. The committee says you withheld several hundred additional documents from Mr. Meadows' personal email account based on claims of executive privilege, attorney-client privilege, or other privilege. You also produced a privilege log indicating that you withheld over 1,000 text messages from Mr. Meadows' personal cell phone. And you note the convenience. He suddenly needed a new phone when all of this was coming out and turned his phone in.
Right. Well, the problem for him is text messages go to somebody. So that's what he's worried about. If they're subpoenaing all these other people, they can ask them to produce the substance of those messages. It's a two-way street, so that's what he's worried about now.
And can we also point out one other thing is that it's not just he knows what Trump was doing. Meadows himself was, people often said, enabling the worst of what Trump was pushing about the election lies. He was talking to Justice Department officials. He was trying to get state election officials on the phone. So he has a really big role in this in and of himself, not just what he knows about what the former president was doing on that day.
And again, you get that if you read this letter from Chairman Thompson, a 38-point PowerPoint presentation about quote-unquote fraud. There was no fraud. We know that. No systemic fraud. Working with members of Congress who were going to try to get in the way of certification of the election on January 6th. So be fascinating to watch how it plays out. But again, another contempt process is up next. Coming up for us.